Let's break down the key elements of plot promise and their significance in storytelling. Whether we're talking about movies, TV shows, novels, or even children's books, every story uses plot promise. It serves as the captivating heartbeat of a story. It is the tool used to draw audiences into immersing themselves into a story. By making claims and commitments early on, the author sets up expectations and establishes key plot points that will unfold as the narrative progresses. The first fundamental aspect of plot promise is the early establishment. This is the promise. This is the author's claim, and it's always introduced at the beginning of a story. Whether it's right in the first few scenes of a movie, prologues in a novel, or even the first few chapters of a book. The idea here is to show the audience what lies ahead, establish the genre, the central conflict, and the general tone of the story. It's like a literary handshake. It grabs the audience's attention and helps them decide if they want to commit to the journey that the author is offering. The next aspect is genre conventions. Different genres come with specific expectations for the readers and the viewers. For instance, a romance novel promises a love story. If it doesn't have one, it's not a romance novel. A thriller promises suspense and danger. Science fiction has cool gadgets. Meeting these genre conventions is essential to satisfy the audience's expectations. Another key element is central conflict. This is the meat of the story. Every story needs a main problem or challenge that the protagonist faces. This conflict is at the core of the plot promise, and the audience expects that the entire narrative will revolve around it. The resolution of this central conflict becomes one of the major payoffs that the reader or viewer is eagerly awaiting. There are multiple promises made throughout a story. One of them is directed toward character development. Another vital component of plot promise. Audience anticipate that the main characters will undergo transformation and growth throughout the story. A well-crafted character promise ensures that the characters that interact with the storyline are changed by it in some way, for better or for worse. Next is foreshadowing. Foreshadowing is the literary technique that keeps the audiences engaged and intrigued in the story. It, in itself, is another promise, usually much smaller. It hints at future events, a twist, or a surprise. An example that is commonly used is the Chekhov's gun principle. The idea that a gun is shown early in the story, that gun will inevitably go off later down the line. Authors use foreshadowing as a tool to create anticipation and keep the audience invested until the big payoff. It adds depth to the story and contributes to the fulfillment of the plot promise. Next is consistency and logic. It is essential to maintain the audience's trust. Sudden and unexplained shifts in the plot can lead to a dissatisfying experience for the readers or viewers. This is usually broken when the author doesn't use foreshadow. You're at a big climax, and the main character pulls a gun from her purse, which you never saw her buy, and shoots the bad guy. It's a bad ending. Use foreshadowing to maintain the consistency and logic. It is essential to keep the story logically progressing and ensure that the promises made early on are delivered upon as the narrative unfolds. The last thing of plot promise is the delivery. It is the culmination of the plot promise. This is where everything comes together: the promise, the conflict, character arcs, foreshadowing, and finally the climax. The climax of the story provides a much anticipated resolution, tying up loose ends and addressing any questions raised throughout the journey. Plot promise is a powerful tool that writers use to craft engaging and satisfying stories. When these key elements work together harmoniously, from an early establishment to the delivery of the promise, readers and viewers are left in a profound sense of fulfillment for what they just sat through. It's the magnetic force that keeps the audiences invested in the narrative and makes the journey truly unforgettable. If you enjoyed this video and would be interested in learning more like this, please like and subscribe. If you have recommendations on what you'd like me to cover, please leave a comment down below and I'll see you in the next one.